What do you mean you think you forgot the time that I'm going to start on? It's like, no, I just started it up. I wanted more people to join the chat before we can have a discussion. Man, I love sake. Like, it's the first time I order a bottle of sake. Here in Romania, they don't sell them at the stores, so you have to order them online. And Romania is actually quite renowned for their beverage. It's called Tsuika. Let me show you what Tsuika is. Like, every time a foreigner puts its mouth on a bottle of Tsuika, they're going to end up in a hospital. Okay. We also have Rakiu, but that's not as famous. Okay, so Tsuika is this drink, and it's made out of prunes. It's got 40% alcohol. Okay, like it's really really powerful, really strong. It's very tsuyoi, as the Japanese would call it, and it tastes like hellfire. It tastes like a thing that wants to hurt your throat. Like, this thing is designed to burn your cells in your body. Like, it's poison, really, if you think about it. But it's supposed to eat, like, you're supposed to eat it with pork fat, like pork grease. So you're having like this. You sacrifice the pork that every Romanian has in its household. So it's like, and then when you eat the pork fat, you're drinking this shit. And it's interesting because the things are vile in themselves. Like eating pork fat is vile. Drinking this shit is vile. But when you actually mix them up, it's good. It's very interesting. So now I drink sake. And sake is made out of rice, okay? It doesn't taste like hell water. It's a little bit more light to the taste. But it does get you drunk nonetheless. So I prefer sake than this, to be honest. Like, this is something that I would only drink if I'm eating the pork fat, which is something that I don't even like. I don't like eating pork fat. But yeah, like if you happen to travel to Romania, you should buy a bottle of this. Like, people think vodka is evil. You should try this. Like, it's just something that's unnatural. Okay. Yeah, the sake did get me. Which is a really good opportunity for me to talk about certain things. Now that you're drunk, do you have the fortitude to admit that you actually ate the pigeon? Man, you know what I hate about these things? Like, I'm not going to talk about the animals that I take into my house anymore because of you guys. Like, here's the thing. The pigeon was an animal that I really cared about. Like, it set its nest in my kitchen's air shaft. So I take the pigeon in my house, I feed it, I give it love and care and compassion. And eventually the pigeon learns how to fly out of its nest, right? So I'm like, okay, well, it's gone forever. And what it does is it actually comes to my balcony. Every single day it comes to my balcony and I feed it. I take it in the house because it was warm. It was kind of funny, like I would take it in this room to keep it away from the cold. And whenever I wanted to take it back outside, because it shits everywhere, like I can't have a pigeon in my house. I didn't plan for this. And when I wanted to take it out, it would go like, and it would try to pinch it was pinching my fingers, and it was slapping me with its wing. It's like, no, I want to stay inside because it's warm. But no, like I would, like this is what I would do every single day, right? Like I had this pigeon, it would come home during the night, like 6, 7 a.m. Sorry, 6, 7 p.m. And then it would fly away at 9 a.m. And one day it just didn't come back, right? And I don't know what happened to it. I assume it probably got either killed by a bird of prey or something like that. But the thing that really annoys me is like when people remind me of it, like I actually cared about that goddamn flying rat. I legitimately care about it. And when people remind me of it, it's like this nostalgia feeling that I really don't want to have. It's the same with the crow. Like I got a crow. Well, I didn't get a crow. My girlfriend got the crow, right? So she found a baby crow, which was probably fallen out of its nest. So she brings it to my house, and I'm like, why you do this? Why you do this, woman? Like, it's going to die, right? Like, you know this. You do understand. But she does bring it regardless. And it doesn't want to eat. Like, I tried feeding it various things. It just wasn't interested. So I give it to a veterinarian from my town, and I'm like, look, man, I just don't know what to do. It's not eating, right? And the veterinarian, tries to do its best, but then it dies. It was probably hurt when it fell out of the nest. Like, it probably broke a wing or something. I don't know. And now people constantly remind me, what happened to the crow? What happened to the crow? It died, okay? It died. It hurts. It hurts right here. It hurts. But like every single time you remind me about it, you give me a little bit of the trauma. There was nothing I could do about it. Okay, so what is the Slav level of buzz-pushy? The Slav level of buzz-pushy is Tsika. The Tsika is the Slav level of buzz-pushy. And I think it's 40% alcohol. Very sweet. It's made out of prunes. Okay, maybe it had the compassion at the time. Yeah, I think it... No, like, here's the thing. Like, I really care about the shit that gets into my house. Like, I get attached to it, and I don't want to... Like, I don't like it when they die, but like, if you get a crow that fell out of its nest and it has internal bleeding or something, I'm not Jesus Christ, okay? I don't have the Holy Spirit in my hands to be able to heal it. Like, that's not something that is within my powers. So if you bring something that's dying into my house, it's going to die, and then I'm going to feel bad. Like, why can't you just leave it where you find it? Yeah, no, booze is gross, but it depends. Like, if you eat the booze with some pork fat or something, it's actually good. It died of a broken heart. It probably did. Raven is better than a crow. Well, fun fact, crows actually BTFO ravens, because crows tend to pack. Like, they form, the murder of the crows. And the murder of the crows BTFO the single raven. Okay, what are we talking about today? Patreon. Yes, Patreon. So, Patreon is in legal problems, as you guys probably know about. And there is this concern that Sargon of Akkad is going to destroy Patreon. I don't think that will happen. And the reason I don't think that will happen is for two reasons. Number one, Owen Benjamin, that's the guy that initially sued Patreon, had a better connection to his followers. Like, you have to understand, if you're a YouTuber, you can either have like a small active fan base or a large fan base. So the active fan base is the fan base that you can get, like if you go on a channel and you tell people to do some shit and they actually do it, that's the active fan base, I don't think I have an active fan base. Like, for example, if I tell you all to do something, I don't think you're going to do it. You're going to tell me to fuck off, okay? But there are other YouTubers like Pokimane, like Owen, like other YouTubers that have a very small but very dedicated fan base. And when Owen tells his fan base to go sue Patreon, they do it because they're active. Right? Like, it's a fan base made of activists. Sargon doesn't have an active fan base. Like, Sargon doesn't have a fan base that actually does what he tells them to do. So I don't think that he is actually going to get a lot of people to sue Patreon. But with that said, I hate Patreon. I really do. A lot, like the counter argument for this is like, well, there's a lot of people that have livelihoods on Patreon. And my argument is like, I have a livelihood on Patreon, okay? Like, I don't make a lot of money on Patreon, but I still make money on Patreon. Like, there's a guy, I think I have like $400 on Patreon from people, right? But, recently there's a guy that donated $500 to me, which I really appreciate. I don't know why he does it. Like, why you're going to get buyer's remorse for doing this. I can do that. But I don't count him as someone that's going to stay there for like 1 year, But still, like, I get like in total like $900 on Patreon. That's a lot, okay? I'm willing to risk all of that out of principle. And I'm going to explain what I mean by this. Patreon is a company that is now not into making money, but it's into power grabbing mode. Like, they don't want money, they want power and influence. They want to control every single person that's on their platform. And this has nothing to do with politics, okay? I'm looking at the hentai community. The hentai community is not political. The hentai community are people that have a skill in drawing And they notice there's a demand for drawing porn, and that's what they're doing. And I'm looking at the hentai community, and it's like the way they're treating the community is utterly disgusting. And I think the way they treat that community is going to expand, and that's how they're going to treat their entire community. So, if you're friends with a person from the Trust and Safety Council, if you're a friend with the higher ups at Patreon, then you get protection, and you even get like them trying to take down your competition. That is just fucking disgusting. Like, that is horrible. You know, like there are hentai artists, and because they don't virtue signal, because they don't have the right connections, because they don't have the right friends, you have Patreon looming over them and telling them, hey, you can't draw this. You can't share your drawing on Discord. You can't, like they try. It's almost like having a boss, like a person looming over your shoulder, you know? Subscribestar doesn't do that. Like, Subscribestar doesn't care. Subscribestar is just a company that wants to make money. And this is why I think a lot of people don't realize it right now. But the reality is that Patreon going down is for your own good. Like, in the future, like, you're going to get addicted to this shit, okay? Like, your life is going to be dependent on Patreon. And the more Patreon overreaches, it's going to be like an octopus in your life, like trying to control everything. If you're on Patreon right now, start a Subscribestar account, you fucking moron. Like, that's what you need to do. Branch out. Like, I know it's painful. Look, if I lose $1,000, which is what I'm making on Patreon right now, it's going to be very painful for me. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be very difficult. But you know what? It's worth it. Because I don't think that 5 years down the line, I am going to be able to have the same content if I remain on Patreon. So the people that are going to suck it in the end are going to be the ones that are the people that don't have a Subscribestar account. Or, you know, like any other option. Like, I don't care if you don't like Subscribestar, get something else. Just don't stay on Patreon. Right? Like, they are the type of abusive husband in your relationship. They will try to take control of your business. They will try to reach out and gain as much power and influence as they possibly can. And don't give me this shit. It's like, oh yeah, but like, they're not going to do that. They are. They are. It's just that they're doing this to people that are acceptable now in order to, I guess, test their system. You know, like they want to see, it's like, how much can we get away with it if we fuck with our people, if we fuck with our consumers. And they're fucking with people that are acceptable to be fucked with right now. You know, like hentai artists. Like, who cares about hentai artists, right? Like, you get so many people that legitimately don't give a shit about hentai artists. But that's not the point. You know, these people that don't care about hentai artists are cerebral. Because they think this is just something that's going to be remain in the hentai community and it's not going to be pushed forward on the more respectable people. It's going to be pushed forward on everyone. It's just that they're using the hentai community as a beta test, if you will. You know, they want to see, it's like, how far they can get away with it. How much power can they take before they roll out the program to everyone else. It's like, how many people are going to complain if we mess with these people that no one cares about? You know, or the quote-unquote Nazis, or, you know, like, whomever they deem to be unsavory folk. Like the type of person that no one would look out for. You know, like the type of person that no one would defend. That's what they're fucking with right now, to see how much they can get away with. What system can they have in place? And from what I'm seeing, their system is that they own your ass. Okay? If you're on Patreon, basically, they can decide where you can post your stuff, where you're allowed to share your links, and what content you're allowed to do or not. And I'm not going to be surprised if the new TOS is going to say something like the Ubisoft TOS, where it's like, if you have something said on the internet, they own the IP to it. Like, they will actually be able to do that if they want. And, you know, they can make, like, even the case that it's like, well, they're the ones funding you. Because that's how they actually view this, you know? They don't view themselves as the middleman anymore. This is what pisses me off. They don't view themselves as the guy in the middle that's take money from your subscribers and gives it to you. No. They view themselves as Mummy and Daddy. They actually view themselves as if it's their money that they're giving to you. Fuck these people. Honestly, fuck these people. And if you don't understand why these people need to get fucked, then I don't know what else to tell you. Every single person that is at least common sense should have another option besides Patreon. Like, you should have a Subscribestar account or whatever. Like, I don't care. There was like this other payment processor that was like incredibly left-wing. you should have that. Like, just get something else than Patreon, okay? Because it's a sinking ship. It really is. Like, it's not interested in helping people gain money. They realize they have a lot of power over people. They have the power to decide the financing of a person. And they can unilaterally, at any point, just go like, no, you're gone. You're gone. And that's it. You know, like, I don't want to encourage this type of business. And I'm sorry if other people are going to suffer because of it, but it's their fault if they don't open a fucking Subscribestar account. Like, your subscribers will move. I guarantee it. Like, the people that follow you will move from one platform to another. Because it's not like Patreon is something that has like a loyalty brand or some shit. Unless like you're a far leftist. And honestly, I don't care about far leftists. Like, this is not something else that I want to say. I don't care about far leftists. And I'll tell you why. I only care about my peers. You know, like the type of people that I know that if I was stuck in a ditch would help me out. Okay? Like that is why empathy even exists. Because it's the idea that you help someone, and if you're ever in a problem and you need help, they will help you in return. I don't think far leftists would ever help me. You know, I don't think that they would give a flying fuck if I'm ever stuck in a ditch. I legitimately don't. So why would I care when they get stuck in a ditch? Get fucking stuck. Is this gazebo money or sake money? Well, to be honest, like, the sake was $5, so, my 6-year-old daughter brought home a 6-baby blue bird. She tried to feed it and read its stories and sang to it. It died 3 days later and she cried for 2 days. Can you imagine, like, being an animal and you're injured and you're internally bleeding and this human tells you stories and songs? Just let the bird die in peace, man. I just finished a 14-hour shift driving trucks. Now I gotta drive another hour to get home. At least you keep me company, V. Okay, let me give him a moderator. Oh, he's already a moderator. All right, Milad Shaba. I have working class people in my chat. How are you doing? I'm doing fine. Think about it this way. You know, like, I'm legitimately curious. Like, being a communist and realizing that every single corporation is on your side. Like, they have absolutely no, how should I say, self-awareness, okay? Like, every single corporation is on your side. Half of the politicians in the country are on your side. And then you realize that the working class and the people that are impoverished are voting for Trump. How does that feel? You know, like, I am wondering how many truckers are watching Vosh right now. You know, like, legit question. How many truckers are watching BreadTube? Like, you know, like, a trucker is the backbone of every single country's economy. Think about it. Like, without trucks, shit doesn't get moved from one place to another. If shit doesn't get moved from one place to another, people starve. Like, being a trucker is actually a very important pillar of the community. And it's funny that the communists don't have a single trucker, as far as I know. Like, I would be really interested to see a trucker that supports communism in the United States of America. If you're not sure an animal is dying and you can't help it, the only right thing to do is to put it out of its misery. Well, see, this is another thing. I can't do that either. Like, 2 days ago, I saw a dog that was hit by a car, and it was in a lot of pain. You know, it was obviously dying. It was gasping for breath. How do you put that out of a misery? You know, like, the obvious question would be to pick up a brick or a rock and smash its head or some shit. But I can't do it. Like, I literally can't. Powerful multinational corporations love socialism because the more heavily regulated a sector of business becomes, the more secure huge corporations become. Yeah, that's something that I think it's like, I think the type of socialism that corporations expect is Chinese type of communism, you know. And they don't like borders because borders means tariffs. Borders means different legislation. Borders means having to hire a team of accountants and lawyers that will tell you like the different laws of the land. So multinational corporations, they enjoy having certitude. Like, for example, in a pure democratic country, you have the uncertitude of the future. You just don't know what the future is going to bring. But in a planned economy, which is what socialism or fascism is, Well, they kind of plan the economy for 5 years ahead, and this makes the investors really happy. So this is why I think that leftism today is a controlled opposition ideology. Vosh is actually insufferable, terrible person too. Man, like I watched this video from Sargon, right? And he did a video response to Vosh. And I think I'm going to make a video about it on my main channel because there's just too much to talk about. But basically, Vosh was he was trying to attack this lady, which made a video on Prager University. And she was pointing out how the knitting community became politicized. And Vosh is like using this dumb idea of like everything is political, so you shouldn't complain. And I'm thinking like, okay, when I grew up, the religious people would say that everything is created by God and God is in everyone, right? And God is in everything. But even though we all believed at the time, we all believed in Jesus Christ, the Creator, we understood that some things need to be separated from religion. So, for example, if I were to go bowling with my friends, we wouldn't talk about God while bowling, you know? If I were to go and have a beer with my friends, we wouldn't talk about God while drinking a beer. If I was fucking with my girlfriend, we wouldn't talk about God while fucking, right? But every now and then you would have like this person that was insufferable. And I think every person in the chat knows who I'm talking about. Like there's this uncle or this relative which was constantly talking about God, like non-fucking stop. And this was the type of person that would give you Bible verses. Like he would remember the actual Bible verse and use them in a conversation in order to decide that other people are sinful or whatever, you know? And when you had the Christmas dinner and you'd invite your uncle and he would start judging the aunt for like what she did and start quoting Bible verses on her to point out that she's a sinner. The only reason you think that the uncle did it is to show it's like, look, everyone else is a sinner. I'm such a saint. You know, I'm the only one in the room that memorized the Bible verses. I'm the only one in the room that can speak for the Almighty. And it was so insufferable that a lot of people just avoided that person, you know? Like everyone was religious. Every single person was religious. But that guy just took it overboard. You know, that guy was just way too ideologically possessed. And no one wanted to hang out with him. No one liked him. And it's the exact same thing when the communists are saying everything is political. You know, like if in the knitting community you can't you can't read threads about knitting anymore because you're reading threads about immigration and about how Donald Trump is bad and all of that shit. It's fucked up. Like imagine this. If Vosh and his community, right, he makes a video and he goes down in the comment section, and Sargon actually pointed this out. It's something that I wanted to point out as well. But imagine if you go into your comment section as a communist and you have a video where you try to explain some core principles of communism, and when you go down into comment section, people are talking about ice cream, you know, and people are like, no, vanilla is better. No, chocolate is a better ice cream than vanilla. And then when Vosh says, like, what are you guys doing? We're talking about communism. Shut the fuck up, Vosh, okay? This is important. Like, food is important, because without food, we don't have humans. And without humans, we don't have communism. So we need to talk about food now. And we're talking about ice cream, right? So which one do you think is better, vanilla or chocolate? You know what? I think we should ban the people who like chocolate vanilla. Because I can't trust a person that likes chocolate vanilla. Like, no. So you would go down this route, and you just co-opt everything. You have like a community that's based on communism, and now half of the communists have to get banned because they like chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla ice cream. It's so fucking ridiculous. And the fact that he can't empathize with another human being and understand, it's like, yeah, other humans are really tired of all of the hobbies, all of the things being infested with an ideology they don't give a shit about. You know, and he just can't understand it. It's like, okay, well, you can't understand it. Well, here's a woman that is basically saying that because her hobby got co-opted, she became a Trump supporter, you know? And the thing is, like, he actually advocates for this. I have seen him in several videos saying that he wants every single medium to be like he wants communists to go into every single medium to push their ideology, right? Like they to when you watch a movie, there should be communist ideology there. When you talk about a movie, there should be communist ideology there. When you watch about a game about football, there should be communist ideology there. And it's like, yeah, you kind of see that some people are going to be disgusted about this, you know, and they're going to become anti-communist because people in the West, they want to separate their private life from their public life. You know, like the public life is like, okay, you go out, you do your public things, and then you come home and you want to unwind, you want to relax, okay? And they don't want politics when they're relaxing. It's not that hard. You know, like it used to be this thing when I grew up that when you are at the family dinner, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, and you don't talk about sports. Because these are hyper emotional things. And when you bring these hyper emotional things into it, you're not going to have a peaceful atmosphere, okay? You're not going to have a peaceful family dinner or whatnot. Now, Vosh is probably the opposite. He's like, no, you should talk about these things. You should hammer them in. You should be the guy that, like, if you don't like, you know, if you don't like the politics of the person next to you at the turkey dinner, you should go up and you should fling the wine bottle and make a mess and leave because the other person is a bigot or whatnot. And it's like, okay, but that's not how humans interact. You know, like your mother probably worked a lot for that dinner. And, you know, she wants to bring the family together. But I guess because the uncle is a bigot, now all of that dinner has to be ruined. And this is like why the communists hate the family unit. They hate the family unit because being part of a family means you have to look away from your family's flaws. You know, it's like, well, it's my son, I have to love him. It's my father, I have to love him. It's my mother, I have to love her. And, you know, that comes in the way of the ideology. Because if your mother is of a different ideology than you, she's like doing the wrong politics, you should disavow her and disown her. Quite horrible. Anyway, I should make a video about it. The trucker thanks me. No, but seriously, like, I meant what I said, Milad Shaba. You know, like, I really have a disgust for people that hate the working class. Like, I'm a guy with 2 universities, okay? I finished law school, I finished med school. I got 2 universities in my drawer, and I'm not practicing any single one. Meanwhile, I have friends in high school that decided to become carpenters. I got a friend that's a taxi driver and a friend that's a truck driver. The truck driver owes the most, like he makes a lot of money. The carpenter also makes a lot of money. Like if I have a kid, I'm going to tell them, it's like, look, you either go to med school or you become a fucking truck driver. Like I don't care, but you're not going to be a parasite in my house any longer. You know, like you're going to go and make some actual money. So you can be independent and you can have your own house and your own apartment. And honestly, like I'm saying this, these jobs that are frowned upon by society nowadays, I think it's a very communistic mindset as well. Like, I don't know when, but I think it's the Soviet Union when it captured the Eastern Bloc, so when it conquered Romania and whatnot. That's when the mentality of not going to a university makes you a dumb person started. Going to a university doesn't mean you're smart. I'm telling you this as a person who did 2 universities, okay? You just learn what the teacher tells you, you memorize it, and then you repeat what you've been told. It's nothing smart. Like, it's more like testing to see your ability to memorize shit. I think like the only time you become smart is like if you try to go for a PhD or something, you know, and you're like trying to further the knowledge of mankind. Like, okay, that might be smart. But even at the university, like they want you to think in a box. They're not like really testing for your creativity, for your out forward thinking or anything like that. So I generally don't have a lot of respect for just, okay, I finished the university. All right, I finished too. You know, I'm willing to bet that I can finish whatever university you want me to do. Right now, if I were to go and study journalism school, like I don't have any doubt in my brain that I would finish it. If you want me to go study, I don't know, like, well, whatever you want, I will finish. I think the only one that I would have a problem with would be math. I don't like math, you know. But even that, like if I put my mind to it, I probably think I would finish in the math university. I generally don't care. So no, I don't think that going through a university is hard work or some accomplishment or whatever. Why is Romanian spring water exported and bottled out so much by other countries? Is resource harvesting widespread enough to cause problems? I literally didn't know that Romanian spring water is being exported and bottled by many other countries. I've no idea. I mean, we have mountains here, so I guess that means we got a lot of springs. But it's good spring water, I guess. I don't know what to say. Like, I like the Romanian bottled spring water. I think people avoiding politics at home, as you described, gives an easy in for communism in the youth. So no politics at dinner, but it does need to be talked about regularly. No, like the communists want you to talk about politics. You know, like every single Thanksgiving, there's 4 or 5 articles on various mainstream media outlets telling you how to deal with your racist uncle. You know, it's like, imagine if 20 years ago you would see articles in the newspaper saying how to deal with your satanic uncle. You know, like it's literally that. In my country, again, it's like the idea that you go to a family dinner means, yeah, you don't talk about football because it's very emotional. Like people don't choose football teams based on logic. You know, it's not a logical choice. They like that team because they like that team. And if you don't like that team, then there's going to be arguments, right? So the idea is to avoid conflict at the dinner table, to have a nice, lovely dinner. So you don't talk about football, you don't talk about religion, because even though everyone is Christian, you might have like different interpretations of Christianity. Like you might have that uncle that quotes the Bible verses, or you might even have like the different denominations. Like you can have a Catholic and an Orthodox or something like that. So you avoid that conflict, and you don't talk about politics. You know, this idea that the communists are trying to gaslight people, that everything is political, and it's always been normal to scream about politics and whatnot. Then they forget that 10 years ago, like if you were to say, "Oh, I'm a Democrat," people would be like, "Oh, okay, you know, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't expect it, you know," or "I'm a Republican." It's like, "Yeah, okay, you know." Also, what I found interesting in Vosh's video was that at one point he says everything is political. And at another point he gets upset that the Trump rally was like a rock concert, you know, and people were having fun. And he's like, well, you shouldn't have fun at a political rally. And it's like, well, if everything is political, why is a political rally different, right? So you're saying that everything is political, so all the hobbies need to be co-opted, and therefore no one should be having fun, because like politics is not about having fun. Sargon twisted it around and saying it's like Bernie rallies are like a rock concert and something like that. And you know, to an extent it's true. Like I think populist rallies are more energetic because people are energized by the atmosphere. They're like, yeah, we have the solution to fix the country, you know, we have the solution to make things better. So obviously they're happy, you know. It's like, but if you're like at the Joe Biden rally where it's all fake, and it's like at this point even the communists probably have to understand that Joe Biden is the establishment candidate, and it's like you're putting a guy with dementia. Like, come the fuck on. Like a party of tens of thousands of people, and you can't find one guy that is presidential. You know, like Buttigieg would have been presidential. Okay, Bernie Sanders would have been presidential. Tulsi Gabbard would have been presidential. Like literally all these other people, and you choose the one that's like the little sock puppet. Like you know that if he goes and wins the presidency, he's going to be a sock puppet. How neat were the tenant houses kept in Romania? Curious because the low-income housing in America ends up trashed, and I've seen that personally. Okay, so maybe this is to do with cultural differences. But here in my country, like I live in a city that's a university city, right? So that means that students that want to go to a university, they usually need to find a place to rent. and there's a lot of choices for them because there's a lot of people, individual people. Like I don't even think there's a company that rents out places. No, it's like people that, like my aunt that I gave an example. She's got an apartment, and she moved in with my uncle when she married, and she keeps that apartment for rainy days. So she has to keep it in pristine conditions. Because if she doesn't, then the students that come in, they look at it and they're like, well, this is dirty. I need to move somewhere else, right? And she had the misfortune of having several bad tenants. Like, one of them actually left footprints on the wall. And like a lot of mess and dirt. And she had to renovate her apartment 2 or 3 times. So to answer your question, now she doesn't want to rent it anymore, so she just keeps it. But if you don't fix your apartment, if you don't fix your shit in my country, what ends up happening is that people will not buy it. Like, students don't have to buy your apartment when there's a lot of competition. That will just go for the person that has a pristine apartment. So that's what's happening. And the problem that the West is facing, in my opinion, like if you look at the United Kingdom, is not these landlords that are renting apartments. It's like when you have someone from Qatar or China and they have money to spend and they want to invest it somewhere. So they buy a lot of property in the United Kingdom. That property is not being used. Like it's literally like in London, you have these buildings that are completely empty because they're being bought by a Qatarian or a Chinese businessman. And they buy this property in order to make sure their money is safe, right? Because if you buy currency, then currency fluctuates. But if you buy property, then property can only grow in price or remain the same. So they're waiting for it to grow in price and then resell it. If I was in the United Kingdom, like the first law that I would buy was to forbid foreigners to purchase property in the UK. And this would get the rent to go down. Because you now have like a lot of buildings that are free and people can buy them to rent them out. You know, you wouldn't have like a Qatarian buying a couple of apartment complexes and just hold them empty. Apparently it's also in San Francisco. Yeah, like it's going to happen in a lot of places if they don't forbid foreigners from buying property, or if you at least make it so that if a foreigner buys property, he has to use it. So if a foreigner buys property, he has to rent it, or you know he's got to have a business there. Like this idea that you can just buy a property and have it empty should only be something that members of that particular state can do, you know, like citizens. That's all of Manhattan. Yeah, but that's the thing, you know, like the prices of the rent are going to skyrocket when that happens. Because the property is finite. Like when you buy an entire apartment complex, when you buy like a massive skyscraper, and you're holding it empty, well, that is place that could go for a whole lot of families and a whole lot of people, you know. But the communists don't care about that, because the thing is, like, if I say something like this, then the communists say, oh, that's xenophobic. It's like, oh, why don't you allow the Chinese person? It's like, well, the Chinese person is coming from a different economy than yours, you know. Like China can print money and no one would know it. So you don't know like the type of things or dealings the Chinese, like he plays by a different rules than your economy. It's just normal because it's a different state, right? You can't force all the states to live by the same rules. That would be tyrannical. So he comes with the rules. He gets rich by the rules that he plays under. And then he comes in your country and wants to buy a skyscraper. And all that apartment complex, all of those buildings are now unfit for use, right? They're empty. Have Lake of Vosh defending child porn. Oh my god, I don't care. Like what I was found shocking about Vosh is that the moment that the woman from Prager University was exposing herself to be a right winger, he started calling her a cunt and a bitch. And this isn't the first time I saw Vosh say this to women. The time that there was this other chick who said that she got raped, and Vosh is like, oh wow, that's horrible. Like, why don't people believe women getting raped? Blah blah blah. And then she explains that she got raped by a certain religion. And Vosh is like, oh, what a bitch, what a cunt, oh, look at the grifter, blah, blah, blah. But I wouldn't be able to do this on YouTube in 2020. You know, like, I wouldn't be able to get away just calling women these horrible slurs in 2020. Like, I would get my channel, you know, flagged or at least demonetized if I did that. Does Romania welcome migrants or are they racist? It depends. Like, first of all, a lot of migrants don't want to come here because it's a poor nation, right? And we're in the European Union. If you manage to get to Romania, you can go to Germany where it pays better. But it depends on the type of migrants, I suppose. Like if they're migrants from a similar culture, like Moldavia, Ukraine, even Russia, there's a lot of tolerance. But there was like this recent scandal where some migrants from Sri Lanka came in here and people started protesting against the business that hired them, and there were like thousands of people. Like let me show you something else about Romania and migrants. So this happened, I think, a couple of years ago. Yeah, 2016, in Transylvania. So a lot of Romanians found out that there's this new thing being built in their village. And when they go and ask, it's like, oh, well, it's going to be this asylum for old people, right? And several Romanians started working there. And they found out that it's not going to be an asylum for old people, it's going to be a refugee center. So what ends up happening is like you get all these people arming themselves with pitchforks and axes and going to the city hall. Like they don't even care about the migrants. They went right to the city hall. And they're pointing out, it's like, look, we noticed what's happening in Germany. We noticed what's happening in France. And if you do this shit here, there's going to be violence. And the mayor is like, well, if you do violence, you're going to be arrested. And they're like, we don't care if we're going to be arrested. We care about the safety of our children. Like, we don't want our children to grow up like the people in Germany do. So what ended up happening is that they had to change the place of the refugee center. Which is kind of funny because the refugee center would only house like 100 immigrants or something like that. But I guess it was the principle that pissed them off. So, nah, I guess that answered your question. Please stop crying for Patreon. Everyone will move to Subscribe Star overnight. Cats like Patreon are simply middlemen. Yeah, that's what I think as well. That, well, the thing is, like, when I moved to Subscribe Star, it took me 2 or 3 months to get to the place where I used to be on Patreon. So this is why I generally don't think that the people who are on Patreon are going to be really affected by it. I mean, if you don't have a Subscribe Star account now, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to, it's your fault, you know? Like, you notice the ship is sinking. Screw those racists. Well, yeah, Kelly Miller, but I think the big problem is that the city hall tried to hide it from the people. I think that's where most of the anger came from. You know, the ruling class told the people that, oh, this is just going to be a center for old people, right? Like an asylum for old people. And then they found out that it's not an asylum for old people. It's actually a refugee center. And the people were upset that they're not being consulted about it. And, you know, that's why they went to the city hall with pitchforks and axes. Would you still recommend coming to Romania if you want to study? Yes, I don't know why more people don't do this. Like, studying in Romania is quite cheap. You can come to Romania, get a doctor's degree, or get a, you know, whatever degree you want actually, except law, because law degree is a little bit different. You know, that applies only to the nation you're in. And then you're going to get a diploma that's recognized in the entire European Union. So, yeah. when are you going to move to D Live so the Google doesn't get its beak wet? I don't think D Live is the type of community that would like me. From what I noticed, the people on D Live are far much further to the right than I am. So I don't think people would appreciate me there. I guess I could try making a couple of live streams on D Live just to see how it's like. I would probably consider it, but you know, we'll see. Thank you, Proper Lives 34 links for the 199. I don't want them to agree with me. Stay in your country, why come to ours? Well, the real question is this. If you know that a village of people is so racist that they're willing to pick up axes and pitchforks and go to the city hall, why would you want minorities to go in there? Like that's the question that you have to ask. You know, like why force minorities to go into a place where there's racists? Like, aren't you putting those minorities in dangers? I should make my country better, shouldn't I? I hate D Live. It stutters for me. Okay. Brother, they don't appreciate you here. Oh, come on. Everyone appreciates me here. I have 365 people listening. What do you mean they don't appreciate me? There was a very disturbing news article, which I have seen. And it's funny that no one talks about it. Like, everyone is hyper-focused on America right now. But in this news article, it says that Turkey is giving Greece an ultimatum. So Turkey and Greece have a couple of disputed territories. And Turkey said that if Greece doesn't give Turkey the disputed territories in 3 days, there's going to be war. I'm really surprised that I don't see this on CNN or something like this. You know, like it's not good. It's not good. Like, what happens if 2 NATO countries are fighting with each other? That's going to be interesting. And who else is going to be dragged in this conflict? And here's another thing that might happen. It's like, okay, because I understand the European Union is keeping peace in the EU, which is obviously a sham. NATO is keeping peace in the EU. But let's say that Turkey would attack Greece. If Germany doesn't help Turkey, then I guess that whole idea that the EU is keeping peace in Europe is going down the shitter, isn't it? So it's going to be interesting. But I'm surprised that a lot of the Western media isn't talking about this. Did you see the explosives thrown at federal court in Portland? As these leftist militants, if Team McVeigh was also right and watched them spark out. Yeah, I saw the explosives, but I can't show them on YouTube because violent content. That's what they called. Bomb Turkey. Man, Turkey is actually the second strongest army in NATO. Like, Turkey is not a pushover. They're the remnants of the Ottoman Empire, actually. Turkey is still a world power. Like, it's not a superpower. But the thing is, no one wants war because war is costly and it's not very profitable. So people try to avoid it, which is a good thing. Get the super chat app Sargon uses. Hate character limit. Yeah, I tried getting the super chat that Sargon uses. I'll probably do that. Thanks for the concern. Yeah, I'll probably do it. The Young Turks are at it again. Yes, they are. NATO is a flea. No, I don't think NATO is a flea. I mean, I don't know how it is today, but the Americans have invested a lot of money into NATO to just let it dissipate, you know? So if one country would be attacked, like let's say if Russia would be attacking Greece, then yeah, you would have NATO intervening. But what do you do when both Greece and Turkey are in NATO? That's the problem power, you know? Thank you, Proper Lives 34. What kind of sake? It was Sakura sake. Kelly Miller, did you drink sake before? By the way, I went to a nutritionist. Turkey is tasty. Gobble gobble. Oh, I see the joke. I did something. You know, I woke up yesterday and I came to the realization that I'm fat. And I don't like being fat. It's not the way I look that bothers me, because that's fine. You know, like I already have a fiance. So I really don't care about the fact that I look fat. No, no, no. The problem is that I'm tired of going up a flight of stairs and then gasping for my breath. You know, I'm tired of getting on top of my missus and then feel like I'm having a heart attack. You know, so I decided to do something about the weight. So I go to this nutritionist, this lovely lady that was, I suppose, like hyper aware of COVID, because like everything I touched, she would just go off and just sanitize everything I was touching. And she she asked like $20 for the consultation, and then she asked like $250 for the diet. And it's like, woman, are you fucking insane? You're giving me a diet. Like, I have been to cardiologists with my grandmother, and the price wasn't this high. Like, what the fuck? Okay. And she asked me, like, the food that I like to eat. And I like to eat pizza. And she's like, And I was like, I like to eat spaghetti. And she was like, I like to eat rice. And she's like, what type of rice? It's like white rice. And I'm like, oh my god, like, is there something, woman? Is there something that I can possibly eat that you won't go, So she's going to give me, like, this diet that I have to keep for 1 week. Yeah, no, 250 for a diet, not 2,250. And also, she's like, what are you drinking? And I like Pepsi. And she's like, And it's like, well, there's this tea. Let me see if I have it. Yeah, there's this bottled tea in the Commerce, and I drink that, and she's like, And it's like, woman, is that a joy in life that I can still have? So, yeah, there's going to be a diet, but the most annoying problem is that I don't like food, believe it or not. Like, I don't live to eat, you know? It's the question, like, do you eat to live, or do you live to eat? And I'm the type of person that eats to live, you know? Like, I'm not the type of person that really enjoys food that much. So for me, one dinner a day is enough. Like, I just have a big meal once, and that's it. No. Now I need to have 3 meals a day. How the fuck am I going to get that in my schedule? Did she call you a rice is for love or white rice? No, she's like the other. There's like more types of rice, I found out. And apparently it's not that there's more types of rice. There's also more types of cooking oil that you should use. Like, you should avoid using sunflower oil. You should use soy. Oil made out of soy. Like, she told me to cook with soy oil. Like, this is what she told me, okay? Soy oil. I have no idea how that tastes. I've never touched soy in my entire life. Could always be the communist diet. Oh yeah, I guess that. Hope it isn't miserable. Well, thank you, Kelly. I think it's going to be miserable. But again, like, the reason I want to lose weight is not because of how I look, because I don't care, you know. But it's like, it's getting really annoying that whenever you try to do any sort of exercise, like go up a flight of stairs, you're like, and I remember like 10 years ago, I wasn't like this. So it's a concern, you know, but my metabolic age seems to be that of a 50-year-old, and I want to fix that. Like, I'm going to fix that. Like, my body is that of a 50-year-old. I even have white hair, so yeah. Soy oil, yes. The other type of oil is olive oil. So like that would be the second one. I've been enjoying your content and consistency lately. Good luck on weight loss. I'm trying to gain muscle for army. What are wages in Romania? So yeah, that's the thing with Romania. Okay, wages are really low. I guess for a construction worker, it would be like $1,500 a month. the government is trying to incentivize construction work. So yeah, but other than that, like a doctor, I used to make like $300 a month. Now I don't know. I think my girlfriend now makes around $900 a month. So it increased. Um, do you have white hair? Yeah, my girlfriend actually found some white strings of hair in my head. So anything but the soy, says Missy Elysium. Well, if Missy Elysium said it, why doesn't Missy Elysium have a wrench? There we go. Alright, avocado oil is the top tier oil. According to fatty acid profile. I don't think they sell avocado oil in Romania, Kelly. Like, I went to the supermarkets. Like, what I found was grape oil. I found soy oil. I found sunflower seeds, olive oil, and I think pumpkin oil. Pumpkin oil was surprisingly good, by the way. But like, you usually like have in a country what people like to consume. So I guess avocado oil isn't part of it. Meth causes weight loss? Oh my god, like I guess I need to. Right. Avocado is also good. Yeah, it is. But I don't think they sell avocado oil here. Yeah, like the best olive oil that I got is like from this monastery. Like there was like, they had the church on it. You know, it washes the Marxism away. Get on an indoor exercise bike. Well, no, it's like, from what I understand, exercising isn't just as good as having a diet. Like the diet is the first thing. So I don't want to be fit. You know, like I don't want to be vegan gains. I just want to lose some weight. You know, if I lose 5 kilograms, I'm happy. So that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go on a diet. My fiance makes $900 a day. V, please come to America. Not a day, a month, man. A month. To Gantavi. Yeah, I didn't get the money from the gun manufacturing anytime lately. Stream walking around the town more. I probably will. That guy saying do an unhealthy diet because results don't lie. Okay, but what if you lose bone density? LOL. But I didn't go to, like, I went to an actual nutritionist. You know, someone that finished a very important school. They didn't finish med school. There is the School of Nutrition and Metabolic Diseases, I think, or something like that. It was like a school that I could have gotten to, but like medicine is 6 years. The one this chick went to is free. So being a nutritionist and being able to charge people $250 for a diet is something that I wish I would have done, but well, here we are. No, she's going to give me like a diet for a week with like hours where I need to eat my meals, and it's 3 meals a day and stuff like that. So, oh, a low IQ chatter. Okay, well, I see. Yeah, no, like I usually don't like going on diets from the internet, because from what I understand, every single body is different, right? Like, that's why some people like potatoes and some people hate potatoes. You know, it's like, so why some people like pickles and some people hate pickles. It's because when it comes to eating, every single body is different. So it's really good to actually have like some blood work done and go to a nutritionist and then get a diet that's personalized for you if you really want to lose weight. And when they personalize a diet for you, they actually ask you like, what type of foods do you like to eat, so that they can incorporate that into your diet. Like, for example, the last person that I know that went there, they were allowed to eat pizza once a week, you know, so that it's not a diet that's very difficult to hold. It's not something that's, yeah. But yeah, no, like a lot of people like think that if something is good for you, it's going to be good for others. Like, okay, intermittent fasting, for example. Oh, intermittent fasting worked for me, so it's going to work for other people. It's not like that. Like, I remember when I grew up, I used to be 65 kilograms, and I would eat everything. Like, no matter how much I ate, no matter how often I ate, I wouldn't have gotten above or below 65. I actually wanted to get fat. because I was skinny. Like you could see my ribs. And eventually it just exploded. You know, like when I was in second year of med school, I just exploded in weight for no reason whatsoever. Like I kept the same diet, I kept the same things. So yeah, you know, it is what it is, and it's the same with diet. I guess it's like it should be personalized. Only eat pizza once a week, and I thought Hitler was bad. Yeah. To be honest, it's kind of fun because you like wait for that particular day of the week. It's like where you can eat whatever you want. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats, and I'm going to go and work on This Week in Stupid now. And hi, Josiah. I guess you're a little bit late. It's over now, Josiah. It's over. I'm sorry. So everyone, have a nice day, and take care of yourself.